up and we're going to go live shortly. It's preparing to live stream. And we're good.
Right. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the January 8th, 2024 MAPC officers meeting. We are due to weather and roadway circumstances. This meeting is being conducted remotely via Zoom video conference consistent with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. This includes an extension until March 31st, 2025 of the remote meeting provisions of former Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, which suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Members of the public may view the proceedings at www.youtube.com/user/MAPC Metro Boston. And with that, I will call the meeting to order at 9:35 a.m. and I will call the roll. First up, VP Jen Constable.
Present.
Secretary Imai.
Present.
Treasurer Sam.
Present.
And me, Erin, present. All right, great. First up is the approval of minutes from December 4th, 2023. We received these in advance. Is there any questions or comments? And if not, I will take a motion at this time.
So moved.
Motion made by Imai.
Second.
All right, second made by Jen. Roll call is required since we're virtual. So here we go. Jen?
Aye, Constable.
What?
Aye, Constable.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Imai
Aye.
and Sam.
Aye.
And Erin. Aye. Motion carries 4-0. All right, next up is contracts. Mark or Lizzie, take it away.
If we could, if I could ask Patrice to share the contracts as I sent them out yesterday on the screen. Is that possible? We'll start with the pass-through contracts.
Do bear with me one moment as I bring it up.
Okay.
Okay, continue to bear with me. Okay, I am about to share my screen.
There we go. All right. Patrice, I'll have to ask you to scroll down if you could. Let's see. We're seeing a lot of
Change back to your mail.
Oh, excuse me?
It was in the right place, but it shifted.
Oh, yes. Bear with me. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can get this right. So I'm not sharing anything that should not be shared on the YouTube line. So bear with me one moment. Okay. Or maybe, Lizzie, may I ask you to share your screen just in case?
Yeah.
I made you co-host.
Yes, I saw. Give me one sec.
All right, thank you. And I'll stop sharing my screen. Thank y'all for bearing with me.
No worries. Let's see.
I'm just checking to see if Patrice is going to try again or if Lizzie is supposed to share the
No,
document.
I'm working on it.
Okay, fine.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to make it look like a version where you can see most of the numbers.
That's fine.
All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Excellent.
And the numbers are not, in this case, all that important because I think all of them, the total amount and the pass-through amount is the same. Or virtually so.
I'll just need to scroll down at some point, Mark, so
That's
I'll just-
fine. I'll let you know.
yeah. I'll
So
be
really, we don't spend a lot of time on the pass-throughs. A number of them relate to Homeland Security contracts with the other regions in the state. And a number of them relate to ACR climate grants, climate resilience grants to individual municipalities. Had a lot of work in both of those areas over the past month, and that's most of what the pass-through contracts are about. Lizzie, if you could scroll down toward the bottom, just so I can see if there's anything else I need to mention, and I don't think there is. I'll entertain any questions if you have them through you, Erin.
the only thing I'll just note to add, Mark noted that a lot of these are Homeland contracts, and I'll just note we do see a few more of the Homeland contracts towards the end and the beginning of the calendar year, just because it's kind of closing out budget and reporting requirements. So just there'll probably be some more in the next month as well.
All right, if there are no questions,
All right,
then we can move on to revenue.
give me a sec. Let me stop sharing this one, then I'll start sharing that one.
Okay.
Right. All right, does that work for everyone?
Well, it works for me.
Excellent.
We are very excited to be doing a historic preservation plan with the marvelous town of Stoneham, their exceptional planning director. So that one is right up at the top there. I don't know why the count I think the count in November was low only because this is only the last 5 days of November. So that's you saw most of November last time around. We're continuing our work with Revere. I might note we have similar work with Lynn around alternative approaches to public safety. Now moving into our 3rd year of working with the city of Revere on this work. Eric Hove deserves credit for getting a major grant from EEA, what we often colloquially refer to as the Kurt Gartner grants. And this is for the purpose of beginning once again what we call our PDA PPA process, which is priority preservation areas and priority development areas. We're doing it a little differently now than we did it in the past, but this is something that we did a tremendous amount of during the Patrick administration. The Baker administration evinced relatively little interest in it, and so we went really 8 years without doing it, and all of these plans for key development areas and key preservation areas in individual municipalities have really gotten old and not very useful anymore. So we're starting out with 6 communities west of Boston. And our hope is that we're going to expand this to a much larger number of communities. When the Patrick administration ended, we had done PDA, PPA plans for fully 2/3 of the communities in the MAPC region. Honestly, folks, I can't remember if it was 2/3 in the MAPC region or if we and our colleagues in MARPA had done 2/3 of the entire state. It was one of those. And we got a long way to go to move this forward, but we're going to try our best. The City of Newton contract, I actually think this work is now done. For both Newton and Brookline, and I believe a number of other communities, we were doing economic feasibility analyses related to their 3A MBTA multifamily community zoning process. Economic feasibility analysis really sounds like it's about economic development, but it isn't actually. It's really about housing and determining whether or not it would be feasible from an economic perspective to implement the affordability requirements, what are usually inclusionary zoning requirements that would be adopted either as part of or alongside the 3A zoning. And this particular contract was to complete it for the city of Newton. We're updating the OSRD and inclusionary zoning bylaws for Duxbury. We are working with small businesses to educate them on their rights as commercial tenants, limited though those may be. And we have ongoing efforts to evaluate or to help cities, towns, and community-based organizations to use data provided by DPH in a project that they call their Community Health Equity Initiative. You can actually look up online a considerable amount of information about the CHEI, and we are involved in sort of being the interlocutor between those data sets and the individual cities and towns. We're doing a comp plan or a master plan for the town of Milford. It's a fairly large project and an important one. Milford is one of the few, arguably the only, moderate income, more densely populated communities in the Swap subregion. And we have not done a great deal of work with them over my tenure at MAPC. I'm hoping that this is a turnaround in that. I mean, the relationship hasn't been bad. There just hasn't been much of a relationship. And I'm hoping that working on the comp plan, we can really advance that. And last but not least, and certainly the largest of these contracts, with a significant amount both for MAPC and pass-through, is the annual Metro Mayors Coalition Shannon Grant contract with EOPS. I think that's 8 or 9 of the 15 communities in Metro Mayors that are part of that project. Lizzie might know the exact number, but I think I'm approximately right.
It's 8 of the 16 communities.
8 of the 16. Okay, fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. And that's it. Pretty good month. Lot going on and very varied contracts, actually.
Yeah.
Not just one department.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Aaron, may I?
Yes, Sam. Go ahead.
Mark, you may have touched on this, but can you talk a little bit about the I-90 project and what that's all about?
I can. It is mostly to determine key areas for development in the community and the kind of development that the community would like to have happen there, and to determine key areas for preservation.
Oh, that was that. Sorry, I didn't.
Right. So it's both
Connect those
development and preservation.
Okay.
And I'm not sure I can name all the communities correctly. I know that the town of Weston is sort of half in, not 100%. We're doing part of the work for them, and then we're doing the whole job. I think Framingham, Natick, Wellesley, several other. I think Newton. I'm not totally sure.
Ashland's involved. Not
Ashland is in
strategically.
Okay. And then one other question, mostly just out of curiosity, for the city of Somerville, was that instigated by them or was that instigated by you about commercial tenants?
No, I think it was instigated by them. But our economic development division has been working hard to try and generate equity-focused projects in the region. And it's honestly, it's kind of a tough slog. We do not find too many communities that are all that focused on equity-related issues in regard to jobs and workforce. It tends not to be a regular part of municipal government, but this is an example of some success in that regard, and I'm very proud of it, even though it's a relatively small project.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Aaron.
Great. Any other questions? Okay. Great. All right, let's move. Oh, There we all are. All right, let's move on to hiring and staff changes. Mark or Lizzie?
I'm going to start, but I'm going to let Lizzie jump in here as well. So I think you all saw that we promoted 4 staff people mid-year, including Ms. Faulkner, who has left the operations department and is now mostly my executive assistant, although she is going to be doing some work or is already doing some work for Lizzie. We also promoted 3 other staff people. I sent those names around to you. I have a suspicion that Lizzie might be better than I am at remembering exactly who those 3 people are, or she will look it up. But in addition to that, I do want you to know that we also, all of those people received modest raises. And in addition to that, 4 other staff people received raises mid-year. In many cases, this was because the staff had sort of come on board like weeks after the cutoff deadline for a full raise on July 1. So they only got a 2% raise on July 1. And in a couple of those cases, we felt it was appropriate to make sure that they got the full raise without having to wait another 6 months. So we gave them another 2. In one case, there was a staff person whose performance needed improvement. And when we saw that improvement, which we were very happy about, which is a credit both to that staff person and to their manager, we provided them with a raise again, where they had received only a half raise.
I think there was
on
2
July
people
1.
in that category, Mark.
Yeah, Lizzie, I think you're right. Thank you.
Yep.
And the highest raise of all of them that we provided, I think, was a 7 for a person who we felt was considerably undercompensated for her work, considering her excellent production over what has been a relatively short tenure here, and considering the comparable salaries of other similarly situated individuals in her department. Most of the raises were considerably below that. And I think 8 total is about right for the middle of the year. As Lizzie and Anna both know, I do not like giving promotions and raises in the middle of the year. I prefer to do it all on July 1st, but I have been convinced that it is necessary and appropriate, as long as we keep it to a modest number and not sort of go down the slippery slope of having people ask for promotions and raises at all times during the year, sort of willy-nilly. So that's where we are. Very happy about that. I'll see if Lizzie has anything further to add, and then talk a little bit about recently filled and open positions.
I was just going to share the 3 promotions. There were 2 in community engagement. So Gloria Wang Pu and Naji Nunali were both promoted from a specialist 1 to a specialist 2. And it really reflects, I'll just remind folks, we had a really unusual circumstance with our community engagement team because we were without a director. We hired somebody that didn't work out. We had a new director, and the team really all stepped up and just did an incredible effort. And so we wanted to recognize the fact that Gloria and Naji in particular had taken on new roles during that time. And we feel like this title better reflects some of the work that they've undertaken and continue to undertake as the team has evolved. And then we had 1 promotion in municipal collaboration. It's Avery Sarah. She does a lot of our grants work with Homeland Security. We brought her in. She's very early in her career, but she is just an absolute yes person. So there's just not a task or a project that we don't pose for her to undertake that she doesn't just do really exceptionally well. And we wanted to recognize her work and really give her that bump in the promotion in the middle of the year because it made sense.
All right. So thank you, Lizzie. In terms of other things going on, we have filled several key positions in the last several weeks. We have a new senior counsel 2 coming on board. Her name is Medora Champagne. She is a member of the school committee in the town of Norfolk and previously a member of the Zoning Board of Appeal. in Norfolk. So she brings some direct sort of citizen experience as well as her professional legal background. We're very excited to bring her on board. She is going to be coming on board about halftime, beginning on, I think, the 16th of January and continuing through the end of the fiscal year. In the new fiscal year in July, she will transition to full-time. So we will have 2 people in our legal department, which is very much what we need. Margie's been, all on her own for now a long period of time. I think Allison Zimmern has been gone for perhaps a year, I want to say. A little more, a little less. And I want to credit Margie for really stepping up during this period of time. And it hasn't been an easy time for her. As many of you know, she lost her dad during this period of time. And I can't say enough about her commitment to the organization, all the work that she's done in terms of our regular legal business, and also in terms of the recent response to the cyber crisis, which people may not realize is a very large part of it is actually legal response and legal issues. So Medora will be starting. We have a new environmental planner, Radoshi Sinha, I believe I've got that name right, who is starting, I think, also on January 16th. It will actually now be the environment department with, I think, 3.5 people. Will be larger, 3.5 full-time equivalents, will be larger than it has ever been in my tenure at MAPC. And that's a credit to Martin and also to Van Du. Van, as I think you know, is on parental leave currently, her first little baby. But she is the assistant director in that department, and both she and Martin have done a great job at finding additional work.
And
In
actually,
fact,
Mark,
yes.
Rodashi has already started.
Oh, okay.
And she already reached out to me last week because she had some ideas for new project work that we can
Great.
undertake.
Fantastic. I think what I've confused me is she has started remote from Louisiana, where she currently lives. She's moving up into a place she found in Cambridge. I don't know how she found a place in Cambridge, but apparently she did. And she's going to be actually in the office as soon as she moves up.
And she and her partner moving up together, and he is a associate professor, I think, at BC.
Ah, okay, great. So so that's another position that we filled. Lizzie, I'm trying to think if there are any other recent positions filled.
No, I think it slowed a little, so it's like harder to keep them in mind.
We're very happy that it's slower.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a relatively stable period. It's almost impossible. I mean, we'd really have to screw it up if we didn't, since we've replaced 3/4 of the staff. But yes, knock on wood, exactly. We are really looking forward to a little stability and to enabling the HR division to do some work related to issues like benefits, personnel policy, professional development, etc., implementing the DEIA and many other things that they can't really focus on as much when there is such an incredible pace of resignations and onboarding. Resignations, searches, and onboarding. So we're looking forward to that. We do have a very important position at the agency that was posted just after the first of the year, and that is Director of Data Services. Jessie is doing a fabulous job as interim. She will be an applicant for the position, but this is a fully open search, and the position was posted on, I think on Friday. If any of you have suggestions for Lizzie or me, both of us are active in this search process, of people who might be possible candidates or people who might know possible candidates, please let us know. We will contact them. In addition, a senior planner position, I'm not quite sure if we're calling it principal or if we're going to call it something else, but a senior position has opened up in arts and culture. We will be posting for that shortly. And there are several other positions that are open at the agency, just not as huge a number as has typically been the case. As of a couple of days ago, I want to say, who was the last hire in land use? I feel we just made an offer which was accepted in the generalists division in land use, and I'm not pulling the name out of my hat at the moment.
Can't either.
But it does mean that the land use department is now fully staffed, which is really good. That is, along with data services, the largest department at the agency. Data services, I think, is also fully staffed at the moment, with the exception of the fact that Jesse is both the research manager and the interim director. So it's not really fair to call it fully staffed. Oh, G1 is a veteran already, Aaron. No, it's not. I don't think it's G1. I think it's someone else, but maybe it will come to me in the course of our discussion. I think that's it on hiring at the moment. Lizzie, can you think of anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, next up, IT and cybersecurity update.
That is for Lizzie.
Okay, Lizzie, take it away.
Sure. So I think Mark had sent out an email, I want to say close to the holidays, to give everyone here an update. Since then, I think folks are aware that we have been working with our cybersecurity firm to engage in sort of fake communications and negotiations with the threat actor. Those conversations have ceased. And the reason that they have ceased is because the threat actor did actually put up the list of files that they had taken from us. They actually subsequently took them down, and then they put them back up again. But in the time that they were up, which was actually just for about half a day, our cybersecurity team scooped them all. And then we had a forensic analysis done on those files. It was a little over 14,000 files. And the forensic analysis showed that in those 14,000 files was actually quite a lot of opportunity there. There were only 143 instances of personally identifiable information of PII. So, as you know, we have a legal obligation to be in touch with those folks. So we started that process last week. We will continue to offer those individuals 3 bureau credit monitoring, which is the highest, safest credit monitoring we could offer. And so we have essentially kind of come to the end of understanding what was taken and sort of our obligation to make sure that we're responding to it accordingly. There were a very small percentage of the people on that list were some current and former staff. So we're also doing some personal outreach to those folks just to let them know. And we can't require people to do credit monitoring, but we can encourage them to. So we will. Our IT team, so we've known all along that the very last phase of this process would be getting our desktops back up and running. And so that's essentially what our IT team is focusing on over the course of the next few weeks. We're going to use a slightly different way to use our desktops. It won't feel much different for the user, but it'll be a little safer. And then we'll obviously engage in sort of like an after action with our cyber team, where they will make recommendations for us about how we can continue to kind of make our whole system safer. Although I'll note with the fact that we only had 143, it's like 1% of the files taken were actually related to PII. It's actually kind of implies that a lot of the protections that we had in place were working pretty well. I'm just checking over my notes. I don't think I have anything else to add. I think, I'll just note too that our IT team really built up a system that in a matter of 6-ish weeks that had taken them several years to build. There are some instances of random little things that you're like, that looks weird in my email, but they've been really attentive to it, and they've just done a tremendous job getting our system back up and running. And I think that's everything.
Any questions?
So
Yeah,
what's
Lizzie.
the, oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, Imai?
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, how many individuals information was compromised on total?
It was that 143.
Oh,
That's-
okay. So it was,
that's
okay,
the-
got it. Okay,
Yeah.
so that corresponds with that. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Imai. Sam?
So my question is just sort of what's the status now? So you know roughly what was taken. Negotiations are not ongoing.
Yeah.
Where are you then?
So now it's really focusing on the sort of the tail end of the rebuild, which is about our actual desktop machines, and then putting in place whatever next steps our cybersecurity team, which is, you know, guys, lawyers and insurance and an actual like team of what feel like magicians, and whatever recommendations they make to us as to how we can continue to keep the whole system safe.
And
Did
what
you say
about this?
mathematicians or morticians?
I said magicians.
All right, great, thank you.
And what about this? So the threat actor wanted something from you guys. Are you just dismissing that?
They asked us to turn you over, Sam.
Oh yeah.
You'll be
No,
glad
I've got them out here in central Massachusetts. I've got them out in a field back
Have
here.
you looked out of your window lately?
Yeah, exactly. That guy lurking out on.
It's actually, I would prefer not to discuss that.
Sure. Okay. I'm just curious, but it sounds like you feel calmer about where things stand.
It's no longer relevant to continue those conversations because we have the full scope and picture
Sure.
of what was potentially compromised, and it's pretty small.
Okay. Got it.
I would say that, you know, from this point forward, I don't know if it's quite yet. I think all they've listed on the dark web is the list of files. I don't think they've actually released the private information yet. Is that correct, Lizzie?
It's a bit of a mix. They've indicated that they have that information. So yeah, that's
Okay.
the best way to describe it, Mark.
Right. So it's just, you know, at some point in the near future, it's likely that that information will be out there and that
Mm.
it could be used in a nefarious way by other parties to whom the information is useful for nefarious activities.
Right.
The credit monitoring and the possibility of a credit freeze is the way we have to help those 143 individuals to protect themselves. But we don't know if, you know, anything unfortunate is going to happen in any of those instances, either in the next week or the next year or the next 5 years. And that's just sort of the ongoing result of this kind of a situation. I would also note that Margie, when she comes back from a well-deserved vacation in a couple of days, I think tomorrow or the next day, will begin to look into the question that has always been my biggest concern, and that is our ability to obtain insurance going forward. We have, from a corporate perspective, now had 2 incidents. You know, for those of you who might have had either you or your partners or your children might have had insurance incidents with the car, you know that the second one results in a much bigger fine than the first. And since my son has had 1 incident, I think that my greatest handle at making him drive safely is informing him that if he has 1 more, we will no longer be able to insure the vehicle as a driver. So, you know, we had the CTPS incident. We were very much protected by insurance during that incident. We had to pay more the next time around, which unfortunately was just happened to be coincidentally right about the same time as the CTPS incident like a month or two later.
Hmm.
And we paid more, but we got very good insurance. And that very good insurance has protected us. It's provided us with financial coverage, and it's provided us literally with an army of experts who I have to say have done a tremendous job. They've been really good. And I don't know yet what the situation is going to be going forward, but that is a very, very big concern of mine. And Anna's, I know, because it has a financial consequence on both the front end and the back end. It has a financial consequence of having to pay perhaps a very high premium or get less robust coverage. And it has a longer term impact if anything like this should ever happen again. We will be having a critical after action review of this situation to see if there are any things we could have done better. I'm sure there are. And to see if we can adjust our systems to be more protective. But as I think you all know, this is an ongoing arms race between the good people and the bad people. And every time we figure out a way, we as the, just the regular kind of the cyber public, if you will, figure out a way to protect our systems, they figure out a way to compromise our systems. So it's not entirely up to us. It's not entirely a question of did we do good or did we do poorly. It's just a question of the world we live in and the ongoing capabilities of the hackers. But we'll be working on that, and we'll keep you appraised of our future insurance situation.
Great, thank you. Any other questions on that topic? Great. All right, next up on the agenda is review draft agenda for January 17th, 2024 Executive Committee meeting. It was part of our, excuse me, our material that we received ahead of time. It will be virtual. Mark or Lizzie, anything else to share? It's pretty standard.
Pretty straightforward. We're looking for a project update, and we will have one. I don't know yet whether there will be legislative items. I actually asked Lizzie and Leah to look into that yesterday. But yesterday was Sunday. So they will get back to me, and we'll have a legislative update. I don't know if we'll have any votes. And don't think so.
I don't think so.
Okay. I have a feeling that Leah said to me on coffee the other day, Lizzie, I think she might actually be bringing one item.
Actually,
Board
as soon as I
committee.
said no, then I was like, wait, actually, I think there is one thing. Yeah, that might be coming.
Yeah. So there might be one thing. We will let everybody know that with the agenda and provide materials beforehand. Other than that, it's a fairly straightforward meeting.
Great, love to hear it. Okay, next up on the agenda is project update. There's no project update.
There's no project update today. Martin was hoping to do something, but Martin and every single member of his staff had a competing meeting this morning. So even virtual did not save us. We will do, however, an environment update on 2 of Martin's projects, new projects, very exciting projects.
Right.
I think at the next officers meeting. I don't think we're going to do that at XCOM.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right, next up, other business not known at the time of this posting. All right, good.
Aaron, I just want to make one more comment on the cyber thing. Mark,
Sure.
It seems impossible that you could have an agency at any level of government that could not be insured against cyber attack. Like, it seems this might be a place where legislation, either at the state or the federal level, would make a lot of sense. Because if you meet standard best practices, and you're doing everything right, you're still subject to the threat of a cyber attack and the possibility that a hacker will be able to figure out a way through the system. So the idea that you could be made bankrupt because you could not protect your information. I mean, everybody is subject to this. I've gotten notices from federal agencies saying, our system was compromised. Please do these following 5 things. Your name may be on some list here. So I just make that only as a comment that it might be something worth raising at some level of government to
Thank you, Sam. We'll look into it.
make that point. Okay, thank you. That's my little soapbox for the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with that, there is nothing left on the agenda. So at this time, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
moved. Then I'll
Motion-
second.
Motion made by Jen, second made by Imai. Roll call is required. Jen?
Hi, Jen. Constable.
Imai?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
And Erin? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Meeting is adjourned at 10:15 a.m.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
and enjoy your week.
Thanks.